Today we're going to talk about this year's policy debate resolution, as well as analyze different parts of the resolution and understand what each part means. So let's start off with this year's resolution. The United States federal government should substantially increase fiscal redistribution in the United States by adopting a federal jobs guarantee, expanding Social Security, and or providing a basic income. So let's divide and explain what each part means. So the first part is the United States federal government, and it could be understood as three different branches. The first one is legislative, aka Congress. Congress is composed of the Senate as well as the House of Representatives. And while Congress has many functions and jobs to do, its main priority is voting on bills and voting on policies and determining whether or not they pass. Let's move on to the executive branch, which is basically the president's. So this could be the departments in the government, such as the Department of State or the president's administration itself. And the main focus of the executive branch is to focus on issues nationwide, so throughout the US, and foreign policy. So focusing on the US's interactions with other nations and what that entails. The final branch is the judicial branch, which is composed of the Supreme Court, circuit courts, and district courts. So evidently, the judicial branch mainly focuses on laws and protecting like human rights and other liberties that people have. Let's move on to should. So in the context of debate and kind of in general, should can be understood as any action that would be good to do. So we should do something. And specifically in the context of debate, when we think of should, we refer to another term known as fiat. And what fiat means is whether the plan is a good idea, not whether it would happen or not. So to give you an example, let's say that the plan is we should go to McDonald's. Fiat means that we should be debating on whether going to McDonald's is a good idea, and not whether or not going to McDonald's would actually happen or not. So when we say we fiat the plan, it means that we fiat going to McDonald's. So we are going to debate on whether or not going to McDonald's is a good idea. So the goods and bads of going to McDonald's. And we're not going to debate on whether or not going to McDonald's would happen right now or not. Let's move on to substantially increase, which basically means that the AF has to be significant and large. So it can't focus on like tiny cases or like stuff that only affects a small group of people. Let's move on to fiscal redistribution. To better understand this, let's take the term apart. So fiscal means anything that's related to money or finance. Redistribution means to reorganize, aka taking something from some people and giving it to someone else. So when we put these two terms together, aka fiscal redistribution, it would mean taking money from some group of people and giving it to another group of people. So this would mean redistributing money, reorganizing where money goes, and just dividing money and giving it to another group of people. And in order for there to be fiscal redistribution, you would obviously need to have money in the first place. So, and from the resolution, we can understand how the United States is the one who's doing the action of fiscal redistribution. Therefore, the United States government needs to have money in the first place in order to do the redistribution. So, what are some ways that the government makes money, or what are some ways the government obtains money? So one of those ways is through federal taxes. And here are just some examples of federal taxes. So the first one is an income tax, or when you have to pay a percentage of your income to the government. The second one is a corporate tax, or companies specifically have to pay a percentage of their profit to the government. Finally, the wealth tax is when the rich, specifically the rich, has to pay a percentage of their wealth to the government. I assume that y'all understand what an income tax is. So again, it's just basically however much, like for example, if you make like I don't know 100K in a year, you would have to pay I don't know like 8% or 15% of that to the government. Like that's the law. You have to do it. So let's focus on corporate tax and specifically revenue versus profit. So revenue is the total amount of money companies brings in, and profit means the revenue with expenses subtracted. So when we say that, when we think of a corporate tax, it means that companies have to pay like a percentage of how much they earn, like in total, how much they earn like across like when you add up all the numbers, like a percentage of all of that to the government. And in some cases, actually, technically, in like a lot of cases, companies lie about their profit and expenses to avoid taxes. So instead of like saying that they earn like I don't know this much money, they normally say like they earn less, so they can like avoid paying like more than they have to. And a wealth tax or like a tax that the rich people have to like pay currently doesn't exist in the US. However, it does exist in France. So when you a wealth tax, so you need to remember that a wealth tax is not a way that the US government earns money. It's not in place in the US. And here are some alternative methods the US government earns money aside from taxes. So the first one is through trade or tariffs or duties. So this basically, tariffs and duties are basically like if another country wants to import something into the US and like if they want to trade with the US, they have to pay a percentage of their like they have to pay a certain amount of money in order to like go in, like pay like into in order to trade with the US. So like if I don't know if China wants to trade like this car with the US, um, China would have to pay like a certain amount of money in order for the car to be in the US and in order for China to be able to like trade the car in the US. There are also other methods include like treasury bonds and deficit spending, which like aren't that important but are good for you to like understand. So let's move on to federal jobs guarantee and what that means. So the US federal government, so a federal jobs guarantee is when the United States federal government hires and pays anyone who wants a job. So these jobs could be like government slash public sector jobs. For example, like building roads, building like grid infrastructure, grid systems, etc. And basically they're just low skilled jobs that don't require much like education in order for you to understand. So this solves so obviously like hiring and paying people would solve unemployment, and specifically two types. So the first one is short-term unemployment. Basically when you're moving, so like you're moving across like places, you're between jobs, you just got fired or you just quit. So it solves like this unemployment because the USFG hires anyone. So you just apply for a job and you still be getting income, but you would also be like moving, like going between jobs and just not like fired and quitted. There's also long-term unemployment, or when you have a disability, injury, or discrimination. So basically what that means is in some like job environments, people who have disabilities or injuries or like are discriminated against won't get jobs. The US federal government doesn't care. So they just want anyone who's willing to work to focus on like these jobs. So just apply for a job and normally like most of the time you'd get the job. So here are like different jobs that apply under a federal jobs guarantee. The first is infrastructure, or stuff that involves engineering, construction, roads, bridges, like grids, and other stuff. So like public infrastructure, like public buildings, like public utilities, those type of stuff. There's also social services, or working in like healthcare, education, food service, like taking care of the elderly, etc. There's also this one is the most important. So the Green New Deal. So this would involve jobs that are good for the environment and or jobs that help humanity adapt to or mitigate climate change. So for an example of a Green New Deal would be building renewable energy sources. So building technology that would be environmentally friendly and are green. So these are like examples of the federal jobs guarantee. And here are some problems with the federal jobs guarantee that people may argue. So the first one is diversion. So it diverts workers from the private sector. It shuts down companies because um the federal government like they need people, so they're gonna ask people for like if they want to work for them or not. And if too many people say yes, then there's not gonna be enough jobs in the private sector. So like local businesses or corporations, like they're not gonna have enough people to like work or like do like these jobs that require people, and it leads to like companies being shut down. There's also costs. So when you hire like a lot of people to work on all these different projects, obviously it's gonna cost a lot. So it costs too much money in order for us to pay all of the workers. There's also brain drain. Basically, brain drain is when all of the smart people move to the US for jobs. Um, yeah. Let's move on to Social Security. So Social Security can be understood as government provided insurance. So it could be retirement pensions, Medicare, or social safety nets. So basically like when the government like gives you like some insurance in the case of a certain like scenario. So like retirement pensions or like when you like retire, like the government will pay you like a certain like amount. Medicare or like the government like offers you health insurance or social safety nets. Um, a way that you can expand Social Security is you can lower the minimum age people could get Social Security. So like lower the like minimum retirement age. So like there would be like people can retire faster and you can expand like Social Security. You can also increase the amount of pay people get from the insurance. And you can also include like other special benefits other than just money. So here are some problems with Social Security. So when you expand Social Security, like when you like lower the minimum age of that people can apply for Social Security, people would retire faster. So this means that people would like stop working faster. So it leads to less taxes because people won't have to pay any like taxes anymore, and also leads to less productive work in general because people will know that, oh, I'm going to retire soon, so I don't have to work that hard, or I know that I'm going to get paid by the government, so there's no reason why I'm going to work this hard because the government's going to offer me like benefits and stuff. It could also lead to bankruptcy, which again like is a similarity between the federal jobs guarantee. So it costs too much to pay for the benefits and the insurance. Let's move on to basic income. So the definition of basic income is when the government pays people money under like certain circumstances. So here are like just some examples of a basic income. So the first one is a UBI, or a universal basic income. So it's when the government pays people money and the conditions for the pay are universal and unconditional, which basically means that the government pays everyone money. Like they pay everyone a certain amount of money without any like conditions. So like everyone in the US, everyone who's a US citizen, like they gets money. There's also citizens UBI, citizens basic income, or when the government pays everyone except for immigrants. So the government only pays people who are US citizens. The next is unemployed. So an unemployed basic income. So when the government only pays the unemployed or like people without a job. There's also age, or the government only pays people of a certain age, kind of similar to like the retirement pension, but except you don't have to retire. So yeah, and a basic income can be like anything you want, but it could be like UBI, like citizens BI, unemployed BI, age BI. There's like a lot of different types that you could use in a debate. So these are some advantages of a basic income. The first one is productivity. So there is increased productivity because there's more money to spend. So like when people are getting paid, they would want to like work. They can like work harder, and they'd be getting paid more. So it's kind of like extra motivation to like work harder, because like you already have, on top of the money you're already making, the government is still giving you even more money. So if you work harder, you can just add to that. And yeah, so people want to work harder because they're happier. It also solves poverty. Well, it solves poverty. It decreases poverty because everyone gets some money, or like these certain people like get some money. So like, um, for example, with the unemployed basic income, like these people without a job, they're getting money. So like, they're not gonna be in poverty. Like they have money to spend to afford like essential needs like food, water, shelter, like etc. And like it can decrease like the rate of poverty, theoretically. Um, there's also entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship is basically like starting new businesses and like you're starting your own business and like economic mobility and stuff. So it increases entrepreneurship is because like someone who starts a new business has a safety net. So what this means is that, for example, under a universal basic income where everyone gets paid, like if you want to take a risk, like if you're like one day you pretend one day you decide like, oh, I want to start my own business, and you put like some of your money into like starting this new business. Um, and let's pretend like your business doesn't work out, like your business like um fails in like I don't know a month. So even though it fails, and even though you used like some of your money, during that time, the government is still paying you money under a basic income. Therefore, like there's a safety net. So like people are more willing to like try out entrepreneurship because like they know that the government will still be paying me money. So even if it doesn't work out, like I won't be I might be jobless, but I'm still getting like income, or I'm still getting money from the government. It also solves automation because like obviously like there's gonna be arguments and debate on how like, oh, AI is taking over, automation is gonna happen, like robots are taking over our jobs. With a basic income, like it can focus it can like so people are still gonna get paid. So even if these people are like jobless, like their jobs get taken over by AI, they're gonna still get money, so they can still use the money and during their like job searching time and like try to get a different job. So it eases the transition to automation. And that's about it. Yeah. So thank you for watching and stay tuned for another video.